you start that?
For my walk.
That's cool. I don't know if you could do that.
Yes, I can. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Hannah. This is my channel. I run it. And this is Orly.
Hi.
Orly was my roommate in seminary, and now
we've been attached at the hip ever since.
Yeah, basically. And I'm really excited to be doing, first of all, a video with Orly, and then also this topic. So, do you want to introduce yourself first?
I'm Orly. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Like Hannah said, we spent our gap year together, and that's how we met. And now I'm currently a junior at Brandeis University in Boston, and I'm studying education studies and Judaic studies, and I'm minoring in social justice and social policy.
So today we're going to talk about what it's like being a religious Jew on campus, and then also kind of like that world, what it's like. So I guess to start off, like my college search, when I was looking at colleges, I wasn't religious yet. Like I knew I wanted there to be a Chabad or like good Jewish life, but I didn't really know what to look for. And something that we'll get into later is that there are like Jewish universities, but I just didn't know about them, so I didn't apply to them. So really when I was looking at colleges, I was looking for colleges with a Chabad and with like a pretty strong Jewish community. And it just so happened, well, not just so happened, there's always a plan, but it ended up that I go to a school with a really large Orthodox population, which is interesting, and I'll talk more about later. But I don't know if you want to talk about what you were looking for in college.
Sure. I feel like an important distinction is that I grew up modern Orthodox. So when I was looking for colleges, and I went to a Jewish day school that were very invested in like college prep. So when I was working with my advisor, I told her that I only wanted to apply to schools that had a big Orthodox community. That was definitely something that was like the top on my priority list. So I applied to Brandeis. I applied early decision because it was my number one school, which I can get into later. But I also applied to University of Maryland. I applied to Yeshiva University, which is one of the like schools that Hannah was mentioning, that it's like a private Jewish college.
So before we get into the video, I want to define a few terms. Well, really just one term. That term is secular college. And what we mean by secular college is basically any school that is not Yeshiva University or Torah, which are basically the two, I would say, only or main.
There's a couple smaller colleges, like American Jewish College in LA, like things that like really like it's very niche. Most people haven't heard of them.
But really just like a college that's like not Jewish. So like where we go to school, we're basically like normal college.
Yeah.
In our world, people call it secular college. Secular meaning like not Jewish.
Like not a Jewishly or religiously owned private university.
Just we're gonna be throwing that around, and I want people to know what that means if you're not in that world. So now I want to talk about kind of what it means to have a big Orthodox community and what that looks like. So I can speak to where I go to school, Binghamton's in upstate New York. We have minyan 3 times a day, which is prayer services. We have a kosher dining hall kitchen situation. Like we have a kosher station in the dining hall, which is open every day. Dairy lunch, meat dinner, and there's prepackaged kosher stuff. And Chabad also has a pizzeria 3 times a week and a meat restaurant once a week. We have an Eruv, which is really hard to explain if you don't know what it is. But basically, one of the prohibitions of Shabbat is that we can't carry from a public domain to a private domain and vice versa. So an Eruv is something that is a structure that makes an area a private domain, so that you can carry things like your keys or like a water bottle or whatever else you might want to carry. So it usually looks like poles with fishing rods. So
and it has to be checked weekly.
Right, so I'm on the committee to check it. We check it weekly. It's a good time. It takes like maybe 10 minutes. So that's a really big deal, and that's like a main, I would say, a staple in an Orthodox community. Definitely. In school, like in a college, and also just like in general, having an Eruv. We have various Torah learning opportunities and just like programming for Orthodox students specifically, as well as just the entire Jewish community as well.
So Brandeis is definitely tiny compared to Binghamton, and also when we talk about like Orthodox communities on campus, it's definitely relative to the population size, because Brandeis in total only has like less than 4,500 students, about 4,300, and in our Orthodox community is a couple hundred, but proportion-wise, it's a very big Orthodox community. It's very active, very student-led. We have prayer service 3 times a day. We also have an Eruv. We also have a kosher dining hall in our regular dining hall. There's a kosher deli on campus. We have a lot of programming for the Orthodox community, and that social events. There's an education Torah learning event every day of the week. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities. We even have in our community, kind of like how sororities have bigs and littles. So we have bigs and littles within our community to help foster relationships across Orthodox students within the different grades. Yeah, I would say Brandeis is known for, Brandeis and Binghamton as well are both known as being 2 of the most well-known Orthodox communities on college campuses.
And then also the schools are really accommodating. So we get off for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and the first 2 days of Passover. And I mean, legally, every professor has to be accommodating with if you miss class or something. So for Sukkot, we don't get off, and I had an exam on Sukkot. My professor was really good about rescheduling it. Obviously, some professors can be a pain. I've only had really positive experiences, but I know my friends haven't. But overall, the university is really good at accommodating the Jewish community. I went to a Hanukkah party with the president of the university, and he was great and loves the Jews. Yeah. So I think that's also a really big part of it, is the relationship with the university. Yeah. And
Brandeis actually they say it's founded on Jewish values, so it's a Jewish non-sectarian university. And I feel because of that, they're a little more in tune with a Jewish related accommodation. So we have off for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the first and last day of Sukkot, and if Shavuot ever falls out on when we're still in school, they'll give off for that. And they always make spring break to be over all of Passover, so that we get all of Passover off.
So something next that I want to talk about is why it was important for us to go to schools with a big Jewish population, and then within that big Jewish population, why we were looking for strong Orthodox communities, and really why we value being part of a Jewish community, and within the Jewish community, the Orthodox community. So I guess I can speak for myself first. Really, when I went into college, I was just looking for a Jewish community, and then now that I am observant and in college, I think an Orthodox community is really important. But for just the Jewish community aspect, I grew up in a super waspy town, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. There were no Jews. Also, Black people and Jews were not allowed to own property in my town until the 80s. So that's why there are no Jews or people of color in the town I grew up. So just being surrounded, not really being surrounded by Jews, was hard. Then I was okay, I want there to be an active Jewish community, somewhere I could explore my Jewish roots and be with Jewish people. And of course I had non-Jewish friends in high school, and I had non-Jewish friends in college. It was just really important for me to be with my people who kind of get it. I don't have to explain, Purim's not really the Jewish Halloween, but we dress up and give candy. So I guess I know why you think that, but there's so much more. So I thought it was just really important to be surrounded with my people that share my values, the same culture and history, and people just wouldn't have to explain certain things to. Love educating people on Judaism, but sometimes it's nice not to always have to explain yourself. And then why also now I value being in a big Orthodox community is that even more so, I'm with people with my values. So there are plenty of people that come to my house on Shabbat in school that are not Shomer Shabbat, they don't keep Shabbat. That's totally fine. I don't care, I'm not gonna tell them to keep Shabbat. I'm not gonna be I won't play a game with you or feed you if you don't keep Shabbat. But it is nice being in that environment where you can create that Shabbat environment. So my roommates all keep Shabbat and kosher, and it's nice that's not even a question of of course no one's gonna be turning on and off the lights on Shabbat. Of course no one's gonna bring out kosher food into the house. It's just really nice not to have to worry about that and have other people to keep Shabbat with and hang out with Shabbat and being able to eat at my friend's house and then make me food. It's really nice.
Especially when they didn't have it before college.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with everything Hannah said, and then I have a few thoughts floating around. So one of them is that in a lot of ways, Jewish communities on college campuses are kind of microcosms of Jewish communities in the world, once you leave the college bubble. And I think it's a really good opportunity to engage in a community autonomously and because you're choosing to go to it, as opposed to I grew up religious my whole life, but even in high school, there were people telling me like I was forced to go to Jewish school. I was like forced to go to certain events, like forced to go to synagogue for certain like Shabbats and holidays. And I think that even when you have all the resources and infrastructures present in a school like at Binghamton or Brandeis, you still have to choose to want those things and to want to participate and be involved, which I think is really important and like a really good like relationship to a relationship like with community that you want it to be healthy like before you kind of become a real adult. Also along with that, Judaism is just a very community-based religion in general, and like it's not meant to be practiced in a silo like on your own. Like Shabbat and holidays, learning Torah, they're all very interpersonal experiences that I think you can't fully experience if you don't have a community present. So that's like not just for Orthodox Judaism, that's Judaism in general. And I really like at Brandeis, there's a lot of like we have like a big like pluralistic value in the Jewish community, and it's really nice to be able to be exposed to other types of Judaism and be friends with people who practice Judaism differently. But then you kind of also have your community where, like Hannah said, like everyone understands like the struggles and like the cool things about being an Orthodox Jew on a secular college campus. And one other thing I'll say, I think an argument can be made that you could push back on us and say, oh, but like if someone like was religious their whole life and they're very secluded and isolated from the bigger world, and a big beneficial aspect of going to a secular or liberal arts college would be that you get to expose yourself to like different cultures, religions, people, experiences. But my education professor, she just published an article about Jewish education and how being grounded in like a Jewish day school experience, for example, and like learning Jewish texts actually, she believes, helps you be able to be more sensitive to different experiences. And when you have those strong roots, then you're able to kind of like stretch farther and like leave your home and go farther and meet new people and experience new things because you have those strong roots. And I definitely feel like I had that experience at Brandeis because I'm strongly grounded and rooted in the Orthodox community at school. It kind of allows me to venture out and meet new people and go to classes where not everyone is Jewish, because I feel like I kind of have that home base to come back to once I push myself out of my comfort zone.
Right. So I have friends who are very much involved and a part of the Orthodox community, but do other things on campus. So my one friend is on the women's basketball team, and she, they're very accommodating of Shabbat for her. She brings her own food, and she's still very, very involved in the Jewish community, and she's on the basketball team.
Yeah, and another thing that I think is really important about like your time in college, like this is just generally that like it's really a time for self-exploration, and kind of in high school I feel like you kind of start to figure out who you are, what you value, and then in college you really kind of get to flesh it out. And I think that is also true for like your Judaism and your Jewish identity, what things work for you, what don't, like what you want to spend your time doing. And I think that it's really great to be part of a Jewish community where you kind of have those options to explore. Whereas if you were at a Jewish school, if you weren't at a school that had Jewish infrastructure resources, you would have to expend all your energy on just trying to get the basics, and you kind of don't have that luxury or like the privilege of really getting to explore your religious identity. And that's something that I've really loved about Brandeis, is that I've really been able to like explore my Judaism even further after high school and after our gap year program. And I've gotten to try new things that I never would have had the opportunity to before. For example, like I went to a partnership minyan for the first time, which for those of you that don't know, it's like a liberal Orthodox prayer service that like if I didn't go to Brandeis, I probably never would have ever gone to a partnership minyan, and I loved it. And that was like a really great growing experience for me.
So going off of why we think it's important to have a big Jewish community and a big Orthodox community in college, or if not big Orthodox community, like stable and strong.
Existent,
yeah, is something that I always tell prospective Binghamton students. They want me to like say something about Binghamton specifically, but I think this really is in terms of any secular college and with Jewish community, is that we have the infrastructure. The infrastructure is there, right? I just mentioned that we have prayer service 3 times a day, we have kosher food, we have an eruv, we have Torah learning opportunities, Jewish professionals, whether that be rabbis or various other Jewish educators.
That's an important
We have the infrastructure, we have the resources, it's what you make of it. So you can choose to go to learning. You can choose to be part of the Shabbat life. I know at our schools, at every school, the kosher situation is different, but at our schools, like, our kosher dining is in the main dining hall. And
it's a very big deal.
It is a big deal. And like with my meal plan, I can buy whatever food I want. So I could go to the whatever fast food place on campus and buy non-kosher food. I choose not to, but I could if I wanted to. Right? So I have the choice in the same dining hall. I can either choose to go to the kosher section or the non-kosher section. That's my choice. That's on me. There's no one. I mean, my family doesn't care if I keep kosher or not, but people who grew up keeping kosher, like, they can decide, am I going to only eat at the kosher corner, or that's what we call it Binghamton, at the kosher station, or am I not? That's your choice. Am I going to be part of the Shabbat life, meaning am I going to go to synagogue, and am I going to go to community meals, am I going to hang out with people, or am I not? It's really your choice, and you have the infrastructure. It's just really up to you to kind of capitalize on that. And I have spoken to people at Binghamton who did grow up observant, including one of my roommates, and she was saying that being in Binghamton has made her have to own her Jewish identity much more because there's no one watching over her, making sure she keeps kosher and keeps Shabbat. She said that when she goes to synagogue, especially on holidays, that is her decision. It's not her parents waking her up and be like, no, you have to go to shul. It's her being like, I value this. I am prioritizing this, so I want to go to synagogue. I want to only eat kosher. I want to do this, this, and this. And again, echoing what Orly said, it really gives you the opportunity to be strong in your Jewish identity, figure it out, and then leave college being like, yeah, I like this religious thing.
Yeah. I come from an Orthodox family and community, and I definitely had the type of family that if they found out that for whatever reason I was partying on Shabbat or eating from the non-kosher side, they would definitely be disappointed and concerned. And I think that happens to a lot of kids who come from unorthodox homes and goes to secular college. It's kind of the first time that they're exposed to like easily accessible, like non-orthodox lifestyles. And again, their parents aren't over their shoulder looking at their every move. And like, again, like I think that everyone like needs to explore whatever they want to explore in college. And at the same time, I think that there is an aspect of self-fulfilling prophecy where, because in the modern Orthodox/Orthodox community, there's like this massive fear of secular college, and that if you go, you are doomed to like lose your religious identity and like leave the community, that I think a lot of kids like just naturally end up falling into that, versus proactively and being aware that you're choosing that, as opposed to kind of just like, oh, I'm going to secular college, and since I've heard for the past 5 years that it's like a scary, dangerous place for my orthodoxy, I might as well just like throw the baby out with the bathwater, because like it's not possible to have a thriving like Orthodox experience at college.
I think the point that we're really trying to drive home is that like it's up to you. I know plenty of people who came into Binghamton religious, they're not religious anymore, or less religious, or they're where they were coming in or more religious. And none of it is bad. Like, you really need to choose what's for yourself, but that point is to show that there are so many opportunities, and it's your choice. You can choose what you want to do. And again, it's your choice you can use the opportunities and what's there or not.
Yeah, like I think we're really just trying to like bust this myth about secular college and like kind of give you insight into what it's actually like, in hopes that like if a teacher or a rabbi or someone in your community like tries to scare you away from going to secular college, that you'll be empowered to still make that choice to go if you want to go. And again, also like busting that myth that if you go to like one of the Jewish private colleges, you are 100% guaranteed to stay as religious as you are, get more religious, like you're not gonna be exposed to anything that's like deemed taboo or controversial in the Orthodox community, which, hate to break it to you, but that is not true, so.
I mean, even at Jewish colleges, it's still a choice.
Yes, even
like, fine, you technically do have to do some amount of Judaic classes, but it's your choice to go to more Torah classes.
Right.
It's still your choice to keep kosher. It's still your choice to keep Shabbat. So
right.
it's not foolproof. Okay, yes, and also on the like modern Orthodox, if you grew up being like, oh, secular college is so bad on that point, but also if you're not religious and have no exposure to the Orthodox community, or if you're not even Jewish, also I want this video to show like, yeah, Orthodox Jews get a college education. We're like normal. I always say when really like horrible depictions of the Orthodox community come out on Netflix, I always say, like, they should just come to one of our schools for Shabbat and see how normal we are. Yeah. Not that those communities aren't normal, they're just different. And we are a lot more in the world than the shows that portray Orthodox Judaism those Jews are less in the world. I don't know if that's
Yeah, and even though it's like true, at least like I think for each of us individually, that we are largely involved in the Jewish/Orthodox communities on campuses, and probably that's a majority like my socializing. I definitely like have made friends that aren't Orthodox, aren't Jewish, come from really different backgrounds from the classes I've been in, or like different extracurricular opportunities that I've been exposed to. And this semester, like I'm hoping to get involved in like in the theater department at Brandeis, and I think that'll be like a really good way for me to like expose myself to like not just the Jews at Brandeis. So it's not that we're just like keeping to ourselves and like trying to like stay away from everyone.
Not at all.
At the school, you know?
Yeah. I have a job on campus. There's an ice rink. I work at the ice rink. It's really fun. I get to skate. And one of the girls I work with is the vice president of the Catholic Church that's like literally 2 houses down from Chabad. And we always like have to pass this church to like get to Chabad. And we were talking, she was like asking me some questions. She's like, yeah, it looks so fun. Like you guys like all coming together Friday night. I was like, do you want to come? Like there's like so many people that come. Like Jewish people come to Chabad all the time.
Yeah, all the time. They love coming.
So I was like, do you want to come? Like, please come with me. She's like, oh, well, like now the Catholic Church started doing Friday night dinner because you guys do Friday night dinner. I was like, oh, is that a Catholic thing, or is that like just like your friends like being cute? She's like, no, it's just cute. Like we like that. Like there's a day that you guys like all eat a meal together and like hang out together. We thought it was cool. Like yeah, the main Catholic day is Sunday, but like we still like thought what you guys as in the Jews do is really cool. So we started doing Friday night dinner.
Yeah, like
I was like, so fun.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
There's like a very popular like religious studies class at Brandeis, and like one of the things you have to do for the class is go to like different like religious experiences that aren't your own religion. So all the time people from that who are in that class or who honestly are just curious because they've like never seen a Jewish community before, like they'll come to our Friday night Shabbat services and like they enjoy the singing, and like they come to the dinner and like they love eating and like socializing with like 100 random people. It's like a great experience.
Like we're not super insular. Yes, like I think 2 points. One, if you like come to an Orthodox service and you don't know what you're doing, it's like kind of intimidating. Like when I was like learning how to like keep up in a synagogue, it's intimidating. Also, Judaism isn't an open religion, so it's like not a free-for-all, but we're definitely not closed. It's like, no, you can never come into our temples or shuls, whatever. You can never come to like our religious things.
And also like
we are open
and like
ask us questions.
Yes, and like within denominations also, it's not like, oh, if you're Reform you can't come to Orthodox service or vice versa if you're comfortable going. Like there's lots of my friends are part of multiple Jewish communities on the campus, or like between both multiple sub-communities. Yeah, and I think like things can be very fluid, which I think is really unique to also like the college Jewish experience, because I feel like that would be a lot harder to attain and maintain in like the real world.
To echo Orly's point, some of my closest friends in school are not Orthodox, and like it's not weird for me to be at their house on Shabbat.
Right.
It's not weird for them to be at my house for Shabbat. One of my really good friends is the president of Hillel, and her freshman year, she just like didn't like the conservative minyan Friday night, so she started going to the Orthodox minyan. And now she likes the conservative minyan better, so she goes there, but it's not weird to find her like Shabbat morning at the Orthodox minyan.
Another really important aspect about Jewish communities on college campuses is that they are pretty much either majority or completely run by undergraduate and or graduate students.
As I edit this video, I realized that it just needs to be in 2 parts. We just have a lot to say, and I don't want this video to be 45 minutes. I just think it's too long. So this will be the first part, and this is where we talked about how we chose our college, the importance of an Orthodox community, things like that. And the next part, we'll talk about mine and Orly's experience as leaders in our Orthodox communities, both as before we were in official leadership, and then presidency and beyond. So stick around and look out for the second part, which will be coming shortly after this video.